Kerry Picket, always good to see you. I know that you're out there running around doing the good deed of actually, journalisming. I mean, doing real reporting. It's good to see you. This story, because there's so much, whether it was the business deals and China, whether it was the drug use and his Pornhub account and all of this stuff, and how much the big guy got, what kind of cut he got. There were some other things on this that it seemed that when this first hit the press and everyone was talking about it, there was one aspect of this that people were really hesitant to discuss. And that had to do with some of the, I guess, that would file under the Sexual Inappropriate Act category. And whether or not child endangerment was a part of that. And you would think that with it being so high profile that there would be some kind of investigation. And what you've discovered is that there isn't. Delaware law enforcement have not investigated this aspect of the story, yet there are emails where they talk about it, and Hunter Biden is apparently mad over being accused of something. Tell us about this in your piece here, the latest for the Washington Times.
Right, Dana. Let's just keep in mind here that these text messages, these photos of basically alluding to this sexual inappropriateness that was being talked about by Hunter Biden. They've been reported about for quite a while, since the laptop was first emerged 2 years ago. And but the problem here that we're talking about was that when Rudy Giuliani and Bernie Kerik first got their hands on the laptop from this computer repairman over in Delaware, and they started milling through the laptop's drive, thousands of photos, thousands of text messages. They came across a number of text messages that had Hunter Biden talking to Joe Biden, his father, now the president, at the time the former VP, as well as his uncle, James Biden, as well as his half-sister, Ashley Biden, among others within the family, about how he was being accused by his lover at the time, Hallie Biden, who was the widow of at that time, deceased Beau Biden. Okay, I hope everyone can kind of keep up here.
It's a lot.
Because she was essentially accusing him of being sexually inappropriate with his niece. Okay, I'm not going to mention her name because she is still a minor.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Soon to not be a minor in a few months, but she is still a minor. At the time, this girl, obviously she is the daughter of Hallie Biden, and essentially in these text messages, he was upset because Hallie Biden was accusing him. When she said that he was being sexually inappropriate, she was saying, according to Hunter Biden's text, that he was Zoom calling her while he was naked. He's doing drugs in front of this girl, et cetera, and also talking to prostitutes on the phone while this underage girl was in her presence, smoking crack while this girl was in his presence. Now, he denied all of this in these text messages, and I have to say the Washington Times did not independently verify any of these accusations that he also denied in these text messages, but these were accusations that were made. Keep in mind that when he talked about these accusations, his uncle, James Biden, he said, "We believe you, Hunter. We totally believe and take your side here, and we're going to shove it down Hallie's effing throat. This isn't fair." I'm paraphrasing here.
Wow.
And so it appeared that everybody was on Hunter's side, and we're obviously very upset with Hallie. So
she just lost her husband. That's their widowed daughter-in-law.
Right. Exactly. and here's the thing, she had her own drug problems too. She came into the family not doing drugs, and all of a sudden she hooks up with him, grieving, and starts doing drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very twisted situation.
We're talking with my friend Kerry Picket at the Washington Times, and her story, Untouchable, how law enforcement handled Hunter Biden's drug use and sexually inappropriate acts. You had noted, too, that there is no evidence that Delaware law enforcement or child welfare officials, took action.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't they normally, in a case where, I would imagine if the accusation is made if it's not public, it would take someone appealing to the police to get involved. But once this stuff became public and these accusations were known, if it had been anyone else, would they have been prevailed upon to get involved and investigate? How does that work?
Well, you see, Dana, here's the thing. So Rudy Giuliani and Bernard Kerik, when they saw all this, we want to go and report this. Even though we're not mandatory reporters per se, as far as the situation is concerned, we're going to bring this to the proper authorities over in Delaware. In this case, it would be in Newcastle County, Delaware, and red flag these relevant pieces of material that we found. So they go over to the Delaware, over into the Newcastle County Police Department, and they say, hey, we're concerned about this girl's situation, and we're red flagging it for you, just so you know. Well, according to Bernard Kerik, according to Rudy Giuliani, they themselves were treated like suspects. They tried to put them into separate rooms and question them. And Bernie Kerik was like, no, I was the former NYPD commissioner. I know what you're doing. You're not going to question us in a separate rooms. You're putting us into one room, and we'll talk about this. And they ended up saying, okay, fine, we'll question you guys together, and they just ended up in the Newcastle Police Department, just took the laptop, and that very day they just handed it off to the Attorney General over in Delaware. That same day, the Attorney General of Delaware, Kathy Jennings, she's like, I'm not taking this hot potato, and she just handed it off to the Baltimore office of the FBI. Now, I reached out to all of those law enforcement agencies, and none of them wanted to talk. The FBI said, we don't confirm nor deny. We talk about any investigations that we might have opened or not have opened, the usual sort of response. So as far as we know, nothing's been opened. Even the child welfare agency, the family division over in Delaware, said we can't talk about any sort of investigation that may or may not have been opened. So as far as we know,
there's not one, or there could be or couldn't be.
Couldn't be, exactly. So people will say, wait, hold on a second, Kerry. Didn't Hallie and Hunter Biden break up in 2018? And so the girl would have been out of danger at that point. It's like, look, he had homes and he had he was living in California, and he was also splitting his time over in Delaware, and he was upset because Hallie had turned his niece against him. So we don't know, whether or not he was trying to hang out with her or not. So we don't know what type of inquiry was open, if one was opened at all. There's no transparency. There's no transparency talking with Kerry Picket of the Washington Times. Kerry, you also, before I let you go, I have to ask you about this story as well, because we've been not only talking about this stuff from the Bidens and the latest with the Durham investigation and the Journalist 2.0, but you also were writing about some of the machinations of the left as Twitter and Elon Musk were kind of dancing around before the deal was cemented. And you had discovered that one of the more prominent left-wing organizations, which is Media Matters, were attempting to try to get Twitter apparently to cut a deal with Musk that Trump would not ever be welcome back to Twitter. Yeah. So they were trying to say, hey, if you maybe you guys can put in terms of sale and say that we're not going to sell to Elon Musk unless, A, Trump is never brought back, or anyone like Trump, or any, deplorables like Trump are ever brought back, like Tucker Carlson or Babylon Bee or whatever the case may be, and that our community standards are kept in place. And they said, didn't like the Wall Street Journal have something like that going on with like Dow Jones when they had to like sell to Rupert Murdoch back in the day, that like he wouldn't put any of his editorial opinions in there, et cetera, et cetera. So like they thought that like they could maybe put their 2 cents in. Well, apparently it didn't work out that way. Now, Dana, what they're trying to do, the same Media Matters company, they're trying to urge Apple, Google, perhaps Amazon. I don't know where Twitter's servers are right now, but they're trying to get all these companies that have the Twitter app to like kick Twitter off the app and do the same thing to Twitter that happened to Parler and basically shut down Twitter. Now, honestly, Elon Musk is like way more powerful than the heads of Parler ever were. I don't think that they'll be able to Parler Twitter. It's
wow.
I think it's a bigger game than everything.
This is a total 180 from what this. I have whiplash right now. What is happening? This is crazy. One last quick thing. Because I remember when the whole thing with Parler happened, they had signed a contract with Amazon Web Services, and didn't Twitter sign up with Amazon Web Services, which I think we all thought was just a way to get leverage with Amazon to shut Parler out of having their AWS. Do they still have that agreement? Because that would mean that Musk and Bezos have to work together.
Very good question. And in fact, it's funny you should mention that, because if you recall, or I think Bezos took a shot over at Musk, saying like, oh, well, isn't he has something going on with the Chinese, with Tesla. But you know what's interesting too is that Apple apparently, like, one of the original shareholders put out a tweet or made some comment saying, well, I think that Tesla is way more innovative than Apple these days, and I'm going to share I'm going to sell all my Apple shares to buy into Tesla, because Apple is of old and Tesla is of new, and they're like way more innovative these days. So I don't think that like they're taking on someone like Parler. They're taking on someone way different. So it'll be an interesting fight.
Wow, this is going to be amazing to watch this roll out. Our friend Kerry Picket at the Washington Times. Kerry, always great work. So good to see you, my friend. Thanks for taking some time for us today.
Sure thing. Take care, Dana.
You too.